Think Realty Nation, welcome to the Think Realty podcast. I'm your host, Abhi Golhar. Today's session is going to be a lot of fun. My good friend Robert Mulcahy will be joining us in just a moment. He's the VP of everything over at Groundfloor, and we're talking about how you can get involved investing in real estate through groundfloor.us and other things that are on his mind. And I'm excited for this conversation. I'm excited for this conversation because there are a lot of new investors, average investors, individuals that want to kind of jump into the game. And I've been seeing a lot of threads on Reddit recently about how can I just invest in real estate, but I don't want to own property. How do I do this? Well, Groundfloor has a few opportunities and ways you can do that, and Robert will be speaking to those as well. And of course, his crystal ball of where his gut check tells him the market is today, especially in the Southeast. Here in Atlanta and around Georgia. So we'll be talking about that afterwards. We've got the top 10 affordable tech metros. So if you're in the tech world and you're looking for an affordable place to live that's not San Francisco, where you have to sell your soul and then your two left limbs to have a 300 square foot box in the center of downtown, you want to stay here, stay close, and pay attention to possibly moving before you don't have to donate your limbs. All right, that being said, I'm excited for the show today. This podcast is brought to you by Nevada Real Estate Investments, your premier source for cash flow investment property. Visit www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. Robert, let's make it happen. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Abhi, I'm doing great. Always good to catch up with you.
All right, likewise. I still have yet to figure out the right balance between kind of that self-derogatory joke and being weird versus things actually making sense. So I'm still working on that. But you are the VP of all things stuff at Groundfloor. And so, I mean, give us a little background on who you are, what you do. I know you have a storied history with real estate investing and lending and all sorts of things. So give our viewers and our listeners a little background about you.
Yeah, thanks. So thanks for having me on. And yeah, Steph, I do things as we said. I've been in the investing and real estate related and financial services kind of space for probably a better part of 20 years. I think you and I have known each other for past quite over the 4 or 5 years, maybe give or so.
Yep.
But I primarily kind of worked on the real estate focus from financial services of providing lending services and providing lending, as well as kind of working with capital raises for companies and working in the lending space. So my position here, I had the fortunate opportunity of kind of joining the Groundfloor team after watching them from afar for some years. And what Brian and Nick, the founders of the company, put together in the financial services that we'll touch on is quite unique. So I came in this year and really kind of focusing on helping build out the infrastructure of our lending advisor and really kind of our advisor teams that work with, real estate investing community on kind of different aspects from investing and lending. So borrowers and investors both. So that's a little bit of my background without kind of going through how I have gray hair and how old I really am. So we'll stick to that.
I don't see any gray hair on your head. I mean, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. If we do a close up, I'm sure you could see probably a couple specs for me.
Yeah.
A lot of investors are wondering, is now the time to invest in real estate? So maybe we'll get to that in a second. But what are the different ways that one can invest in real estate? Is it only to copy the Chip and Joanna Gaines of investing, which is you buy a home at the beginning of the show, you have it renovated right around the 25 or 30 minute mark, and then you sell it at 45 minutes and you make a 30, 40, 50, $100,000 profit. What are the different ways?
Yeah, so a lot of different ways, right? I mean, traditional, when we think about the stock market, right? Real estate related stocks, maybe home building companies, companies involved in real estate. You can actually be involved in the real asset itself, right? A lot of, people that we know that buy a home, buy land, buy something real estate related for the purpose to hold, develop, flip, or then you obviously have, you have REITs, right? Another way to potentially invest. So kind of a Groundfloor really had built out, taken from the Jobs Act that was signed into place in 2012 and a Reg A Plus approval, offered the platform that we'll touch on that allows investors to invest in real estate related loans. And as compared to a REIT, which is a block of loans, this is actually individual notes specific to one property and one individual entity. So those are the different ways, right? You can either be the operator, or you can invest in the operator, or invest in the company via the public markets, and as well as what we created is the private market.
Yes. And is that then a barrier for some of these investors to go out and find these operators or find these opportunities to invest in themselves? What are some of these barriers to jump into this world, and how do investors overcome them?
Yes. So I think two barriers that come to mind are one is really is capital, right? I mean, the traditional mindset is, if I'm going to go out and you and I are going to buy some type of real estate, be it commercial or a house. Let's just talk about a single family house. We need cash. We need capital. And then along with that is, that may be restriction, right? We may not have the liquidity of $200,000. So we may say, okay, well, let's invest in some type of investment vehicle. Well, a lot of the market, as you may know, high yielding, short term real estate investing tools are not eligible unless you have a minimum net worth, right? An accredited investor. So that capital or that experience may not be available to the average American citizen. And really, that's are kind of two barriers, outside of the experience as well, that ties in there, being the third, that doing your first flip or making your first investment, or maybe, I go to you and you lend me some money to go into a property. I need to gain experience. And how do you dip your toe in the real estate investing space? And I think those are kind of a couple of the barriers that I see out there in the space when I talk to experienced and new investors. And much of what we try to accomplish of removing some of those barriers by minimizing the needed cash investment and allowing somebody to participate on a smaller level to help them gain some experience. And I think that's what's unique about Groundfloor and what we're able to do there. And I think that's something that people in the market generally try to do anyways, by getting a mentor and learning about real estate. And I think that education is a significant portion that's critical. I mean, just financial literacy in general, specific to real estate investing.
That's right. I mean, we talk about about the preparation that's required and preparing for that mental leap to do that first deal or the second deal or the third deal. And it could be a lending deal. It could be like via Groundfloor, right? You have a list of operators, you have a list of projects, and investors, will log in, they'll create a profile, and they'll kind of pick based on grades of which projects to put their money into. In terms of overall diversification, how does that work with Groundfloor? Should I use Groundfloor as more of a hedge with my other investing strategies, or should I go primarily and just maybe go a mile deep into one specific type of strategy, i.e. Groundfloor?
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I truly was talking to one of the team members here that just came back from our conference, and we were just talking about the diversification. That seems to be, a good point that's coming up. So I'm glad you mentioned it, that, we really recommend to customers that work on the investment platform to go ahead and, if you had $1,000, right, go ahead and invest in 10 different loans. And what's unique about our platform is, as compared to, say, if you went to Goldman Sachs, right, you'd have to have a minimum net worth to open up an account. We have customers that can open up an account with as little as $10. And through our SEC approval from the Reg A Plus, that allows us to accept those investors and give them the offering of what typically was left to high net worth individuals. So we certainly encourage and recommend diversity in their diversifying their portfolio, that you could look at some single family properties that maybe are at an 8%. And then maybe you look at a 2 or 3 unit property that might be at a 10% interest rate. So you have a blended return. Mm-hmm. You can have a limited kind of exposure for each project. And we have a rating system that kind of shows what that risk associated with the investment is. So your blended annualized return is what your goal is, right? So rather than, like you mentioned, do you go a mile deep, rather than putting all your eggs in one basket, no different than if you were actually being the operator of the investment, you want to be able to kind of hedge your bet and diversify it. So I think the way you summarized it is perfect kind of entry into what we offer and what we encourage, and our customer success team members here recommend to our investment base, which we're proud to say. I mean, when I walk past the software development team here, it's quite amazing what we take for granted that you mentioned. We can just log in there. We can get text updates. We can see the status of an account. We can see the status of our loans. We can see the rating with it. So it's pretty amazing that it's really, truly a new banking system for today's kind of society. And much of the mission that Brian and Nick kind of put together was to give access to those vehicles in a simple way to the average citizen.
No, that's pretty fair. In terms of the different types of opportunities you have on the Groundfloor.us platform, you mentioned a couple. Is it straight, pretty much single family? Can I find commercial opportunities like an office complex? When I log on, what should I be expecting on your platform?
Yeah, so you're definitely going to see primarily going to be related to general 1 to 4 unit real estate. All right, so we have clients that are doing fix and flip projects on a 1 unit property. We have some customers that are doing new build construction, so ground up construction, right here in our hometown where you and I are in Atlanta. Then we have some loans that you'll see that may be on a 2 or 3 or 4 unit property, as well as some exposure to multi-class, where you may have a 5 unit mixed in with a single family and another single family. So it's primarily going to see things that you would recognize that you drive through your neighborhood on the way to your work, wherever it may be. So all kind of that traditional residential real estate product type. So nothing too unique or unusual. So it gives a great insight that most people will be familiar with it. And I think that, again, for the new investor, removes a little bit of that barrier of like, okay, this is a tangible asset. I can see, I can understand it. I mean, you may even want to go, you can Google map it, right? Really quite unique.
That's right. What's your gut feeling telling you? Like you mentioned, I mean, you and I live in Atlanta, and we have a pretty good grip on the Southeast. What's your internal gut telling you about the Atlanta market specifically?
I mean, I'm still very positive on the Atlanta market. We're fortunate for economic growth that we have in the area, as far as with corporations that are continue to expand, right? Porsche is well founded now down by the airport. We have, other insurance firms moving in here. Mercedes-Benz opening up a kind of corporate office, as well as in the Sandy Springs area. And then obviously, Hollywood and entertainment, right, continues to be a thriving, growing market. So that underlying real estate and the need for rental housing, for new construction housing, and then as well as for hospitality, right? I mean, our population growth is, as you and I know, scooters are a big thing here in Atlanta because it's just hard to drive a car around. So that's a good thing for real estate, right?
I don't know about so yes, you're right. It's a good thing for real estate. I like traffic. But Robert, let me tell you about these scooters, okay? Like, holy cow. I don't know. I like the scooters. I'm not going to ride them on the road because, well,
no.
I mean, I know that's the rule, but I'm not going to do it. Like, there's no like bike lane anywhere in Atlanta. So that's like problem number one. And I know, that I'll get a little pushback saying, well, you got like the 3 feet of safe zone between the edge of the curb and the road. But I'm like, how people drive in the city. There's no Southern hospitality on the road, so I'm going to keep going on the sidewalks.
Unfortunately, their phone in their hand, and the distraction is easily going to hit me, and I'm pretty sure I don't bounce off the pavement well. So.
me neither. I don't look good being rushed to the ER. But I did see this one guy. He was on a scooter. He was holding the right handlebar. And he had his phone, and he was like doing a video conference. I'm like, is this even possible? Do you have like auto stabilization on the scooter somehow? I don't get it. That's just like weird to me.
Oh, that's too funny.
Jeez. So Groundfloor is where you want to go. Check out groundfloor.us. And Robert, maybe 1 or 2 top nuggets for those new investors out there that are thinking, well, I'm looking at opportunities in Atlanta. I've identified maybe a couple buy and holds. I've identified maybe one flip. Why should I look at Groundfloor?
Sure. So, I put it this way, Groundfloor is a platform that sits between investors and borrowers. So we kind of identified it's a very easy entry to open up an investment account with as little as $10. And then for new borrowers on the other side, you can see the flexibility of the loan terms that we have. We love working with new investors, and we have programs that kind of meet them. So we have deferred loan options where there's a balloon payment collected at the end of the loan. We don't think making monthly payments is going to add to the success of your project. Either you have a good contractor and you pick a good project, or you don't. So that's a great way for new borrowers. And then for the investors, we have a customer success team waiting, to help guide you through the account setup. It takes literally less than minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You can join, over 10,000 other investors that have come onto the platform and are investing in loans all across the country. So, like you said, groundfloor.com. You can visit, take a look at both the investor and borrower side and see what Nick and Brian really put together was to change the financial services firm and opening it up to, unaccredited investors and giving everybody access to high yielding, short duration investment products, through that Reg A Plus on the SEC. So we're excited about it, and we look forward to talking to your listeners.
Awesome. Robert, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Great talking to you as well. You take care, and we'll see you soon.
You got it. Thank you, Robert. This next segment is brought to you by Real Property Management, which is the largest residential property management franchise in North America, managing tens of thousands of properties for individuals, investors, and institutions throughout the country. Learn more at realpropertymgt.com or call 888-806-7088. Let's talk about the top 10 affordable tech metros today. And it's kind of interesting. Just taking a look at this list. And the full story is on Realtor.com. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the top 10. So if you're in San Francisco and you're tired of paying $8,000 a month to live in a 300 square foot place, maybe check out some of these cities. Coming in at number 10, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis has actually done a really good job building out their tech scene over the last many years. So Minneapolis, you deserve to be in that top 10. Detroit, Michigan, top 9. After a crazy downturn from Detroit, they've finally turned this ship around, and they've done a really good job with that, thanks to Dan Gilbert kind of leading that charge in Detroit. Really great turnaround there. Number 8, Raleigh, North Carolina. I was in Raleigh very recently. Fantastic downtown and a lot of tech going on in Raleigh. Number 7, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number 6, Austin, Texas. Number 5, Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, I can see that. I knew Atlanta was going to be a top 5 at some point. Number 4, Chicago, Illinois. Number 3 is Baltimore, Maryland. Number 2 is Dallas, Texas. And number 1, you want to guess? It's Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville has been pretty much at the forefront of space and tech for quite a while. And we think NASA, we think Huntsville. So awesome stuff. Good job to those cities for making that top 10 list on Realtor.com. So here's the deal. Overall, they got Realtor.com surveyed over 500 metropolitan areas to generate this top 10 list. And they looked at metrics like the number of people employed in each tech sector, number of tech companies, tech job listings, and home prices, nothing over $400,000, and a bunch of other criteria. So this is a fully vetted top 10 list. You want to check out what's going on in these cities. Of course, for the full article, go to Realtor.com. Think Realty Nation, that's a wrap. Get in touch. Go to thinkrealty.com if you have any questions. And this podcast could not be made possible without the support from my friends at Narada Real Estate Investments. Check them out, your premier source for cash flow investment property. Go to www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. Think Realty Nation, that's the show. You know how to get in touch. Until next time, happy investing.